Good afternoon, good evening. My name's Marc Manfre. I'm the director of the Delaware County Park and Recreation Department, and thrilled to be here for the unveiling of our new playground, destination playground at Rose Tree Park. In terms of a rec guy, this is a vision that we've had in our Park and Recreation Department for years, and a lot of the table was dissembled. We've been putting it together the last 2 years, and we've come to this point. I first want to recognize Stephanie Gaboriault, our president of the Delaware County Park and Recreation Board, as well as she is the president of the Friends of Glen Providence Park. Thank you, Stephanie. Nick Furman's here from Ridley Park, another board member, volunteer and have supported us for many, many years. And Stephanie's was newly elected to the position of president about 9 months ago. So thank you to our board. I want to recognize our staff, Norm Bennett, Superintendent of Maintenance, Beth Chapman, our Marketing and Public Relations Manager, Derek Ford, our Redwood Senior Coordinator. They do a tremendous job, and it's all part of the recreation package we offer to residents of Delaware County. It's not going to be a long agenda, so let me first tell you that a project to this magnitude doesn't get off the ground without the support of our elected officials. And we have the will now on County Council to support active recreation and passive recreation. And Brian Zidek and myself and the planning folks have been talking about this project now for 2.5 years. Finally, we're hopefully get shovel into the ground soon. But with no further ado, let me introduce the chairman of the Delaware County Park and Delaware County Council, Mr. Brian Zidek.
Thank you, Mark, and I'll be brief. So I've got 3 kids. I've got a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 20-year-old, and I've been coming to this park since my 20-year-old was pretty little, and it was fun to frolic around in the grass. But I knew when I looked at her that she was looking for a playground, and I suspect lots of other kids for years have come to this park and enjoyed it. We would come every year and still do come every year for the Christmas lights, and we've really enjoyed the park. But I know that we would enjoy it all the more if there were a playground here. So. When I first came on county council, one of the things that I had the privilege of looking through was the master plan that our planning department had worked so hard over the years to create. And I think it was pursuant to the 2015 portion of the master plan that called for a park to be built here in this lovely place. So it's not as if Mark and I or others on council just came to this notion recently. People have come to this conclusion long before now. But I really want to give a shout out to Steve Beckley, everybody in the planning department, and to Marc Morfei at Benoni for their help. And I also want to thank the park board for its help, its stewardship in this process. I'm really looking forward to hearing any ideas that the community has for improvements. There have been plans made, but nothing set in stone. If people have ideas as to how it could be better, please share them. We make better decisions when we get input from more people. So please don't be quiet about that. And looking forward to the process moving forward. So thanks for coming out here today. And obviously we'll open this up for any questions if we have any. I think we're going to turn it over to Steve or to Mark now. Okay, turn it over to Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Brian. I'll keep this really short. My name is Marc Morfei. I'm a landscape architect with Benoni Associates. We're the design consultants to the county for the playground. One of my colleagues, Diana Mancini, another landscape architects, is here too. And we've been working on this for several months for the county. The idea was that this would be a playground that would be unique and special, different than anything you'd encounter anywhere else in the area, a real destination that people would travel to, not just an ordinary playground. So out on the tables, there are images of our preliminary thoughts with the design. We've had a whole sort of team of people working on this for several months. The center of it would be a tall, vertical climbing structure that stretches out in 2 directions, lots of different ways to climb into it and out of it, different types of skills that you'd be testing to do that. There's an area for smaller, for toddlers and preschoolers, which is lower to the ground and is set up more or less as an obstacle course, again, with lots of different balancing and climbing, stretching skills. There's activities that people with disabilities can engage in and use. So we think it's something that meets the needs of really the entire population of potential users here in the area. There's things online that are online and will be posted online. There's a video that links from a screen capture that's on the boards. So take a look at everything. We'll be over there to ask questions and talk about it in detail. As I think people mentioned, there's an email address to send in comments you have. So we're happy to talk about all the opinions everybody has. And as Brian said, eager to get feedback from everybody. Thanks. I guess Steve Beckley with County Planning is going to wrap it up.
Again, my name is Steve Beckley with the Delaware County Planning Department. We have Ann Stauffer, also from the Planning Department, environmental planner. I think Marc Morfei already covered most of my possible talking points.
Sorry, Steve.
But that's fine. I just want to mention that we do have a flyer for you to take with you that has an email address to send any other comments that you may come up with later. And for comments you have here, you can submit written comments on comment cards that we have over there, and some of the staff are carrying them. And you can use the pens that are over there, write your comments on them, and give them back to us before you leave. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming out. We're very happy to have you here. Thank you.
Mark and Steve and the Devon will be over at the table to ask any questions that, Mark in particular, who designed with his team to design this playground. So if you have any questions, you can review the plans, and there's colored photos of the facility. So thank you for coming. Chestnut Hill College cross country team, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
So open spaces are critically important in Delaware County. We're actually one of the most densely populated counties in the Philadelphia area. In fact, there are more people in Delaware County than there are in the country of Iceland, and Iceland is about the same geographic size as the state of Pennsylvania. So we are very densely populated, and even I believe in Philadelphia County, I believe there is more space proportionally to the city than there is open space than there is in Delaware County. So it's been incredibly important. It has always been incredibly important to have this open space. And luckily, some visionary people started preserving it back in the 1930s with the dedication of the early parks in Delaware County. But it is more important than ever now over the last year and a half with the pandemic. But a lot of families, my family really appreciated the parks, and we would go hiking as soon as the pandemic hit. It was like a lifeline. It was just essential in those early months when everything was really shut down and there was almost nothing else to do. The parks got incredibly increased usage, and I think everybody really appreciated how valuable they are. There have been studies done about the health benefits of being in open space, and even specifically in woods. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal earlier in the year talking about how they actually have measurable effects of cancer-fighting proteins in your body, and obviously stress, and your heart health, and all sorts of things that even things that are surprising were really measurable, that were benefits just from spending time in the woods. So preserving all of this open space. Right now you have cross-country teams running through the park as I'm speaking, and it's amazing that we have all of this. So yes, so I'd say that open space is incredibly important, and for families having a free, in hard times, it's a free place to go. All these parks, everything in these parks, it's free of charge, and families can come enjoy the time with their kids, run around, and if they don't have a yard of their own, or if they do have a yard of their own, then it's space to play.
First of all, the idea of having a playground is great. I have a grandson who's 6 years old, and whenever we go somewhere, he doesn't want to just run around a park. He wants to play on something. So I think it's a great idea. I saw the layout. It looks like it's really going to be a high scale, nice thing. So basically, a lot of as I said, the coaches were concerned. They were worried it was going to interfere with the course, but it actually is going to be, we're going to be able to work around it with no problem. Well, today's kids, they're on the videos, they're on their computers all the time. It would be great if they, get out in the open air and enjoy themselves and have a good time. Well, the fact that they're working around making sure we can keep our course is really a positive. The playground is really a nice idea. I don't think it's going to interfere at all. In fact, it's going to add, because when parents come with their little kids, they can play in the playground while the kids are racing in the cross-country meets. I think it's a positive thing for all kids. And as far as other people, gives the parents a little break so their kids can play on the playground instead of them having to dig up games for them and stuff like that.
The county started planning for this about 5 years ago with their master plan, where they developed the original idea. And earlier this year, once funding was in place, they actually sought to hire a professional design consultant, and we were fortunate to be selected through a competitive design process. So we actually got started working on the project earlier this year in the spring. Yeah, for the older kids area, that is centered on a tall center cone, which you can climb through in different ways. There's a climbing structure that stretches almost 100 feet, which has many ways you can climb through it, climb on it, hang from it. There's lots of different exercises that are involved with that, so we think that's going to be really engaging for the older kids. There's also an area for younger kids, toddlers, and preschoolers, and this is centered around an obstacle course, which is low to the ground. There's many different skills, balancing, climbing, jumping, that are integrated into that obstacle course. The theme in the toddler area is around a stream. There's a stream that's painted in the ground, and it leads to a sort of a house structure, and you're supposed to be climbing kind of over and around this stream through this obstacle course. So there's different balancing and jumping and stretching exercises and activities that you do along the way. The obstacle course, in the end, you end up at the house at the end, and there's a variety of kind of sensory experiences, sensory panels, different sounds and sights and touch, textures that are of interest to kids of all abilities. There's an area of the playground that is centered around spinning. There's several different spinning activities. These are accessible to children of all abilities, including wheelchairs. Children on the spectrum gravitate in some ways towards spinning, so these are appealing to them. And they're things that multiple kids can engage with and be doing all at once. So several kids at once can be on these activities. They can move at different speeds depending on the interest and ability level of the children. You can sit, you can stand and push. You can sit in the center and be pushed. There's lots of different ways of thinking. So we have completed the preliminary design at this point. We're looking for public feedback, and the intention is that we're finalizing the design over the winter, and it all gets constructed next year. So in 2022, we'll see a new playground, and all these improvements we're talking about here today will be constructed by this time next year.